Hello everyone, welcome back to another figure review. My name is Matthew and the Funko Pops have returned to the channel. It's been a bit since we last took a look at the Funko Pops, not counting the advent calendars. And yeah, we're just gonna kind of take a look at not just one, not two, not three, but 4 individual figures. Technically, these two are marketed as one, but it's like a 2-in-1. You kind of get it, but they're 2 different figures of 2 different characters from the same line. Having said this, this is going to be my review of the entirety of the Godzilla Singular Point sets from Funko Pop Animation. So for a little kind of context here, I was going to do them in their own like individual videos, but I kind of realized that it would be better if I just did them in all one review, because essentially we would have one base figure, one repaint, which would basically just be like 5 minutes talking about the additional stuff, and a video that probably wouldn't do well on its own considering how poorly this thing sold. I kid you not, the place I got this thing from 2 years ago still has the original wave of Mei Kamino Funko Pop stockage still in stock, and they're trying to get rid of it. Having said that, this is just going to be like a little overview, nothing like too complex, but essentially just an updated version of my original videos. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the Godzilla Singular Point Funko Pops. First things first is we're going to start with the main guy himself, Godzilla Ultima, the base figure. Now, okay, first things first is this is actually going to be a really big retooling of the Godzilla vs. Kong Heat Ray Godzilla. I know this because if you have not seen my original review of that figure or my original review of this figure, essentially the whole deal of this guy is that he has the identical pose, positioning, similar claws, similar tail, pretty much everything about that, but primarily for this review we're going to be treating this guy his own, pretty much on his own. So having said that, this was bought for me as a gift from my sister, so thank you very much. Anyway, so let's kind of get started here. So for the actual sculpt and paint, the head here looks very ferocious. Now for people who don't know what Godzilla Ultima is, this is a completely new take on the character. Kind of like a combination of Shin Godzilla with some like supernatural elements to it. Essentially the whole theme of Ultima is that he's an avatar to a higher deity that views the universe as nothing more than fiction. Just fiction. And this is that in Funko Pop form. So that's why he looks so different. So for the teeth, we have the double row of teeth there outlining his tongue, which the tongue itself, not really too detailed, but detailed enough. You know, it's a Funko Pop, you don't come in with the expectation of like a tremendous amount of detail. But for the teeth as well, they're painted and sculpted pretty well, pretty basically. Nothing like, oh wow, that looks beautiful. It does its job. We have the membranes here on the side, which Ultima does have some very pronounced membranes. And something I really like is the big teeth here, like the big canines of such. They are captured pretty well here on the Funko Pop, at least for my standards. Almost looks like a cave, doesn't it? Yeah, like these are about to fall down on me. That'd be a cool ability, though. The something I also appreciate is that the membrane and the gums have different colors. The gums themselves are more purple, and the membranes are much more blood red. For the detail itself for the head, we have a lot of like the nice wavy details, kind of like pretty much on the outskirts of the face, and the actual nostrils and pretty much the front of it look pretty bumpy, and all things considered, nicely done. Like it's very squared off, like how Ultima's design actually is in the anime. Something I'm not too keen on is the top of the mouth here, because like I get it, not many people are going to be seeing that. come on, your Godzilla versus Kong, was it actually like that? I'm not too entirely sure, but at least some paint up there. Come on, man. So yeah, we have the yellow eyes, which does make sense since Ultima's eyes, I believe, were at least like partially yellow. They weren't like pure yellow, but they were partially yellow. So it's cool that they at least added that. Not the nostrils themselves aren't really sculpted in that deep, but you do get like a bit of like a weird wash within the plastic, or maybe that's just the way that the plastic was molded together, because you get it like a base gray, and then you have it with like black throughout. It's a very interesting combo, one that I do think that works for the design very well. We have the very pronounced eyebrows, and of course the top of the spikes, which are very big, 3 rows, very pointy, so it looks nice. Moving on down to the stomach, we have like all this like plating down here, which kind of looks like armor plating, to be honest. Of course, there's a lot of detail, quota, missing, but it's not really missing, it's just simplified, so they had to get rid of it. For the arms here, again, more like the standard plating, and then we have a lot of the spikes here with the, almost like a shoulder spike. That looks really cool. And then we have the 4 fingered claws here. This is kind of like what I meant with the Godzilla vs. Kong thing, where they were in like a near identical position to this. But on their own, they are painted pretty well. Again, not too like shading or anything like that. Just on its own, just looks cool. Here for the thighs, or the legs here, very big, very chunky little things with more or less the same kind of like plating that goes down, bent in with the back bent leg. Here for the feet, they look nice too. Well, chip on mine, I don't remember if that was from me. Probably is, probably isn't. I don't know. This thing's been in the box for like the past year, so I don't even remember if I actually opened this after I moved. Anyway, copyright insured Martoho, Funko, yada yada yada. Copyright 2023. Just kind of like showcasing more of the detail here. Towards the back here, nothing like overly fancy as far as the scales are concerned. Because we kind of don't have like that much. I mean, we have some black and like peering through, but the real star of the show, kinda, is going to be the dorsal plates, because we have more or less like the hair-looking dorsal plates back here, and then we have like the very veiny dorsal plates, which have like the red kind of like veins going through them. They look really cool, and I think they were captured very well in this figure. However, because it utilizes a figure that doesn't really have big dorsal plates to begin with to make room for the box, this one kind of suffers, and I don't think that the fins are as big as they could be. Ultima doesn't have like proportionally big fins. Like, they're more like, at least comparing body proportion versus body proportion on Godzilla's, if you're to scale them all the same size, Ultima himself doesn't have like overly big fins. You want to talk about big fins, that'd be something like King of the Monsters 2000 and -1. This, I would feel, looks more like 84 fins, if I'm being honest. But then again, it is a simplified Funko Pop, so. But having said that, you got the 3 rows, all of them are individually sculpted and painted, which I do appreciate. And then we have the tail, which has a lot of the same segmenting that we've seen pretty much a majority of the figure. Kind of like swooping down, no paint or like additional detail, I guess, kind of with like the underside. But again, it's more just the same kind of like clean cut detailing. Now, here's something interesting, is that Ultima's tail, at least in the design, is very long. But here, it's kind of like, again, more like a traditional Godzilla tail. And I definitely think that they could have, like, because this one doesn't come with the beam, maybe they could have, like, utilized the extra shelf space. Like, why not actually have it angle a little bit upward and then down to the side? I feel like that would have looked sick. Even if you had to attach it separately, which probably isn't the first Funko Pop to do so, but hey, this is what it is. Of course, you got a little spike tip. So yeah, essentially just to kind of show front side here, back shot, this side, from below and from above. So for the Godzilla Ultima base Funko Pop, I really dig this. I think the sculpt and paint on this thing, even though it is utilized from a pre-existing figure, it comes in, does what it's supposed to do, and I feel like it does it well enough. Do I think that there could have been some room for improvement? Yeah. Like, as far as the dry brushing is concerned, maybe you could have, like, done some, like, I don't know, red on it, because Ultima in the anime spews this thing called archetype, which is basically portrayed by a red mist that distorts the universe, and you could get maybe like some of that on this thing. I don't know, maybe just my own interpretation, maybe modify the tail a bit. Again, it's really just because Ultima is such a different base design to MonsterVerse Goji, and that is what that is what they used here. So that's kind of why I'm constantly making the MonsterVerse Goji comparison. But again, we're judging this thing based on its own accords. Comes in, does what it's supposed to do, and it does it well enough. Not like amazingly. I would say I'm comfortable giving this thing, I'm going to say a 7 out of 10. Pretty good, all things considered. I hope you got a Jet Jaguar and an orthogonal diagonalizer ready, because here we have the Heat Ray version of Godzilla Ultima. Now, when I said that this thing was a pretty much like a 5-minute point discussion, I'm going to try and extend it out for as long as I can here, but essentially the base figure is exactly the same. The only real differences are going to be the additional blue, which we'll talk about here. So instead of the purple, we get the blue in the mouth, pretty much covering the whole tongue, the sides of the teeth, not the teeth themselves, but pretty much the entirety of the lower mouth, not the membrane as well, oddly enough. And we get a peg hole at the back of the throat for the atomic breath. So here, let's actually kind of like raise this up here a bit. There you go. The eyes are purely painted blue. They look nice. The spines here look pretty much as they should, all painted blue. Not too much in the way of differences here, as you can see. Something I find really cool is actually, because in the anime they do glow differently than other Godzillas do, the veins go from red to white, and the spines themselves go from white to blue, which just look really cool and almost look like very like frosty, kind of like Christmas vibes. I know, Christmas vibes in the middle of summer. I mean, can you really blame me? But having said that, this just looks like, honestly, just really cool. Just to also kind of like throw in a comparison with the original, because you can see like the wash and everything is a bit different. Like, for example, this one has more black here than this one does here, but that's really only because of the way that the vinyl was actually casted, so yours could look different to mine. Having said that, the real talking point here is going to be the atomic breath, which also is borrowed from the Heat Ray Godzilla 2021. So let's at least talk about how it looks. So the peg here is going to be purely white to simulate it glowing, and then is going to be sprayed on here. And then we have the reused effect here towards the base. You're going to have to forget the cat fur, because they live with 3 cats anyway. The like wavy plasma effect, and then it hitting the ground. And what's cool about it is that it features new rings, because Ultima does have the rings around it. I don't remember specifically the significance of the rings. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if they even have significance outside of just looking like a cooler atomic breath. But when he charges it, the rings spawn, and if you have like a front face view, it looks really cool until you remember that this is the sign of death. Anyway, I mean, then again, if you're being face to face with an eldritch entity that views you as not even real, you're basically dead. Having said this, the connection is never been simpler. You see the front, so you see the flat sides like that. There's going to be a peg hole in the mouth. Just jab it in, and bada bing, bada boom, he is shooting the atomic breath. Unlike the other figure, this actually has a very secure connection. Like, I am actually kind of trying here. Not like overly, but I cannot get that thing out. And something I do like is the shade of blue they went with. It's very dark, very kind of like deep sea blue, which looks nice. However, my main problem with the beam is just the way that it's made, or at least the material they went with. Because the original Heat Ray Godzilla beam had a more kind of like thicker material. It felt more art, like more of an art plastic, and actually felt like it was going to last. This feels brittle and cheap as hell. Like, I don't understand like why they decide to hollow the whole thing out and make it of such a cheap plastic. So of all the beam effects, it's definitely not the most high quality, but at least as far as in terms of looks, it does its job. I again like the addition of the rings. Come on, get back in there. Okay, now it wants to not work with me for some reason. I don't know why. I always peg it in right, and it just kind of... I'll probably have to fight with this thing off camera if I can't get it out. Sorry, can't get it in. Oh, there we go, finally. Anyway, so, yeah, that's kind of it. Again, most of the talking points were just about the blue beam and the blue paint. So I would say that this thing overall is probably my favorite one of the set, or at least the line. So a fair rating, I would say, is probably 7.5. What's really holding it back is just going to be the quality of the beam. If it was made of like the same art plastic that the original one was made of, plus the blue and the shade of blue that they chose and the rings, then I would give it 8, probably an 8.5, because that's cool. And I love the original Godzilla because of that, the 2021 Heat Ray. But for this, definitely think that it takes the dive as far as quality goes, but again, I digress. And finally, for the last one, and probably the least interesting to many people, but I would say the most unique of the set, is Mei Kamino with Pelops II. So, Mei Kamino is the main protagonist of the, or at least one of the main protagonists of the anime. So it's actually cool that we're getting a figure of her. Kind of surprised we didn't get any of the other human characters, but I guess that's where Nendroid steps in. So for Mei Kamino herself, we have her glasses, which don't actually have any clear plastic. So she's been wearing fake glasses the whole time. Just kidding, anyway. So yeah, made of like a brown kind of like vinyl material. Then we have her eyes, which are the standard Funko blackened out eyes with the eyelashes, purple eyebrows, and her purple hair, which is molded pretty well, all things considered. Not like overly complex little nose. And of course, we just have a lot of pretty much basic detail with more really well printing as well. We have the logo down here, big M, looks nice as well. I forget the significance of it. It's been a while since I watched Singular Point. I gotta rewatch it, man. Give it a season 2, damn it. Anyway, we have the hands, which are molded pretty well, as well as her jacket. Really just trying to like show you all the intricate little detail. Her backpack as well is cool, though. You have like the little spikes in the teeth. I like this shade of blue, or the kind of like a blue-greenish, but I would kill to have a thing like this. I wonder if they actually made something like this, because Singular Point was apparently like a really big success when it came to the merch. Her legs and feet, or I guess the shoes, are molded pretty well. As you can see here, laces are actually visible. And of course the orange shoes, wonder where I can get a pair of those. You can just tell I don't have a lot to say in comparison to Godzilla Ultima and the Heat Ray version. Little itty bitty eyes. Or I think that's actually just the zipper, never mind. Yeah, that's what I get, I was mistaken. Little arms as well. Almost like it's latching onto you. Anyway, for accessories with Mei, Mei actually comes with a stand, which has 2 peg holes, which more are facing like a specific direction, and you just literally insert it in like that. So she doesn't topple. Can she stand without the stand? Probably not. Oh, she can. Okay, I didn't know that. Watch as I actually go back to my original view and I actually test that out. Interesting that they gave her a stand. Anyway, and as for Pelops II, Pelops is, of course, the AI in the show. And I mentioned that this could be a perfect pocket pop. Literally just attach this thing onto a keychain and just sell it. Anyway, so the design is pretty much simplistic. Tiny little chibi dog with the green eyes and a little nose, which is actually a little darker in terms of shade. Little snout, orange tongue, and then kind of like the white face. Little ears as well. Little scarf down here with a bone for the collar, I guess. And then we have the white stomach with tiny little beady limbs. It just looks cute, as well as the stand, which again, only one peg hole this time, so oh no, where do I peg it? It's right there in the hole. Anyway, yeah, not really much overly to talk about when it comes to these two. Little tail as well. There's really like not a whole lot to really like write home about. But for what it's worth, they are very well nice pieces. And I think honestly, all things considered, also just kind of like showcase, Mei actually has some articulation. Since most of the human figures actually have articulation there, which I think, actually no, that'd be incorrect because I was about to say that this is the only Godzilla figure in the line that has articulation. Nope, the Kongs do. At least some of them do. But yeah, for Mei Kamino and Pelops II, I would say that honestly, much like Godzilla Ultima, they come in, do their thing, and do it well enough. You know, there's not anything they can overly screw up. Admittedly, I actually haven't seen a render of Mei Kamino in a while. Having said that, I'm probably just going to rewatch the anime after this. But for what it's worth, I think that these two are pretty well. Like, at least side profile, really just trying to get to all the details of which. There you go. So, for a rating, I would say Mei Kamino and Pelops II get a 7.5. Much like Heat Ray Ultima, I think that these two are pretty cool, at least together. Having said that, this is going to be definitely the most bang for your buck, but at this point, I think it's just good. For size comparison, here they are with my only other Godzilla Ultima figure, the Monster Arts Ultima. And you can definitely see that I need more Singular Point merch. And because they're the only Funko Pops, I didn't have any closed boxes because I really don't want to open a box specifically for size comparison. Here they are next to some other Godzilla Funko Pops with the standard release, Spitfire exclusive, and the Mecha Godzilla, which funny enough, we were supposed to get this at one point. Come on, Toho, let's get it already. And lastly, here they are with some NECA Godzilla figures with the 2014 NECA and the 2003 NECA. And so overall, for the Godzilla Singular Point line of Funko Pops, what do I think of these guys? I think that they're fun. You know, not bad. Honestly, they come in, do their thing, and they do it well enough. That's basically what I have to describe all three of them. Nothing really blows me out of the water. Nothing really like gets me, oh wow, they did this. Like back then I was excited because this was more Godzilla Funko Pop stuff, because it was like a rarity. We had like one sculpt for like several years until they finally locked in with Godzilla vs. Kong, gave us a whole kit and caboodle with exclusives, different lines and different sizes, and then we got another one with the first like non old Toho design that was being used for several years up until that point in the form of the Singular Point line. These days, they're cranking out like all sorts of Godzilla Funko Pops, and I kind of stopped collecting line because of that. But anyway, these three are pretty good together, honestly, and I think they're best together. Don't just buy these two, buy all three of them. Knowing how these ones sold, they're probably not worth that much, and to be honest, people are probably just trying to get rid of them. Having said that, it should probably still be easy to obtain these because, let's be honest here, Godzilla Ultima, while a cool design, isn't the most popular design, and it's definitely not the most iconic. When people think of Godzilla, they're going to probably get the 70th anniversary wave, or the Godzilla vs. Kong or the New Empire line. or even the newly released -1 Funko Pops. But having said that, I think that the entire line deserves at the very least a 7.5 out of 10. And I overall do recommend them as a trio. If you had to pick one, I would actually say get these two. They're criminally underrated. Having said that, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next review, whenever that might be. Very soon, actually. Peace out, everyone.